Another week, boys, and another TWAB. This week at Bungie, we have a little chat about Guardian abilities and the next step of evolution. With a little side of candy, naturally, it is the last week of Festival of the Lost after all. This week, we're diving deeper into what's next for abilities with the arrival of Season 19 next month. It's good to reflect sometimes, but it's also important to not stay in the past. So come with us on a nifty little journey, if you will, into the world of abilities and where they've been, where they are now, and where they're going in the near future. We're also teasing a new dungeon that's ready to rock for next season, a message to our console players, and another shot at shaping the next weekend of Trials of Osiris. But before we dive into what's going on in the world of Destiny, we did want to take a moment to talk about recent events. Both the crowd crush in Seoul, South Korea, and the terrible bridge collapse in Morbi, India, resulted in tragedy and loss of life. Our hearts are heavy for those affected, especially when looking at the scale of such a tragedy. For any fellow Guardians interested in reinforcing disaster readiness and response efforts worldwide, disaster response workers are moving tirelessly to provide ongoing rescue assistance. In addition, organizations like Team Rubicon work hard to support affected communities in the form of large-scale infusion of medical aid and supplies. For those affected, our hearts are with you during such a trying time. Eyes up, Guardian. Now, to abilities and beyond. There's no doubt that a few things feel as satisfying as thunder crashing through an enemy as a badass titan, becoming a tethered god as a strategic hunter, or changing the entire battlefield with an expert Shadebinder warlock. That being said, the role of abilities has evolved since the start of Destiny, and the evolution is far from over. Going over some of the planned ability changes coming in the future is our talented sandbox team, including reflecting back on the road so far and what awaits in Season 19. By the way, guys, Season 19 is literally on December the 6th, right around the corner. Now, sandbox team. Hey folks, sandbox team here to talk through some of the changes we have lined up in the ability sandbox for Season 19's launch. Before we get into the specific changes, we want to reflect on last year's ability changes and talk about our goals for this update. Last December, we released update 3.4.0, which reduced ability cooldown rates across the game, with the goal of reducing focus on abilities on high-level crucible modes like Trials and Survival. We also wanted to reduce the number of low-cost abilities that could down a Guardian in one hit. For additional context, prior to update 3.4.0, the super energy economy at the time promoted extremely passive play in high-level PvP activities to secure guaranteed round wins with the use of roaming supers. Yeah, if y'all remember that, guys, people would literally just wait on their supers and would win games outright with their supers. Ability cooldowns within each slot were identical, and cooldowns were not something that could easily be changed to help balance ability potency. Yeah? Dude, a grenade was just a grenade. We didn't have variable cooldowns. Now, the Subclass 3.0 updates were in the works, and adding build crafting options and additional combinations of perks, abilities, and keywords was unavoidably going to create power spikes that were not present outside of supers in the present subclass options. Oh boy, I smell some nerfs. To address the first point, with the changes to Trials, reduced round timers, the addition of zone capture as a Trials variant, and the systematic changes to super cooldown times, this is no longer something we're particularly concerned about, though there are some outliers at the very low and very high ends of recharge tiers that we're looking at. Giving cooldowns independent timers solved what was stated in the second bullet above. Now, to reiterate the third point, this work was done to give us additional runway for Subclass 3.0 updates. Without the 30th anniversary tuning pass, the ability energy economy would not be sustainable in a post-Subclass 3.0 world, with additional build crafting options and an enormous combination set of abilities and perks. Instead, the uptime of neutral game abilities has taken the spotlight as the most vocal pain point for our players, particularly in the Crucible. In the long term, we plan to do another holistic pass on the ability energy economy to bring outliers in line and get our baseline closer to that 60-40 gunplay to abilities goal that we have laid out previously for the Crucible, and better enable our PvE activities to challenge players while letting subclass fantasies shine through. So again, I want y'all to take note, guys, 60-40. That is the ratio Bungie wants. So for those that are like, no, I want 90% gunplay. Listen, you're not gonna get it, man. Not unless you just don't want to throw a grenade or use your class ability. 60-40 is the number Bungie's going for. Now, to set expectations now, that is not what the Season 19 abilities update is. Any large-scale ability energy economy tuning would be on a post-Lightfall timeframe, so we can include Strand in our holistic review. For Season 19, though, our primary goal is to more closely normalize the power of our existing subclasses, giving us a more standard baseline that we can use for future tuning. This is coming in the form of targeted updates to outliers on the high and low ends of the light subclasses and Stasis, aka, guys, look for more targeted buffs and nerfs. Now let's get into it, starting with Solar. With Solar 3.0, one of our goals was to get persistent healing in place where it felt valuable in high-level PvE. However, with the updates to Resilience that released alongside Solar 3.0, Restoration has proved to be too powerful for our current suite of activities and has been particularly pain point in high-level PvP. To that end, we're making a small adjustment for Restoration ×1 and a large adjustment for Restoration ×2 to make sure that a careless player can still be punished by an opposing opposing Guardian or particularly crafty PvE combatant. So Restoration. Restoration times 1 base healing rate reduced from 25 to 20 health per second. 40 health per second in PvE activities, down from 50. So a nerf in both. Restoration times 2 base healing reduced from 40 to 32.5. And 65 health per second in PvE activities, down from 80. This will no longer stack with Healing Rifts healing, and the stronger heal over time value is prioritized and will stop the weaker heal over time from taking effect. Okay, so outright stacking won't work. Kind of like our buffs and debuff system, right? The larger one takes precedence. Now, I'm gonna be straight with you, like healing is an issue, but coming off the back of like classy restoration, dude, at this point, I'm just so used to it, right? Like I feel like we went through boot camp those 3 months in Season the Haunted with classy restoration. So at this point, restoration doesn't even bother me, or at least not to the potency and level that classy restoration did. Now, overall, we're content with the potency of Radiant and its place in the sandbox, but in its current state, its uptime has no meaningful drawbacks. So we're making a few changes to the Solar Fragment suite to reduce that uptime. So starting with Ember of Torches, Radiant base duration reduced from 10 seconds to now 8 seconds, and it now applies a -10 discipline penalty while equipped. Now, Ember of Solace now provides a bonus 50% to Radiant duration rather than a flat 5 seconds. Note, this is consistent with its behavior with Restoration. Okay, so yeah, a nerf across the board on that one, guys. Now, next up is Knock 'em Down. Now, this aspect does a lot of work, most of it being passive in the background, and while we're happy with its use as a neutral game tool to throw an absurd amount of knives in a target-rich environment, it benefits to the Gunslinger supers are currently overloaded. In particular, the overlap of benefits between Deadshot and Marksman Golden Gun muddies their identities. The bonus duration on Deadshot results in a few too many 7th, 8th, and 14th column videos for our comfort. We want to cement Deadshot and Golden Gun as a tool for a hunter that wants to dive into the fray, whereas Marksman is for calmer sharpshooters that want to wait for the perfect shot. To that end, we're splitting Knock 'em Down's benefits more cleanly across the 2 Golden Gun variants. Deadshot will gain 15% damage resistance, but lose its bonus duration. And Marksman will no longer provide bonus damage resistance while Knock 'em Down is equipped. Alrighty. Golden Gun, you're getting nerfed. I mean, I will say that there was lots of 7th columns popping off. Dude, every time I watch a 7th column video though, all I can think about is, damn, I wish I got spawns like that. Hell yeah. Now, while it's been refreshing to see Blade Barrage topping the PvE DPS charts, the base damage increase it received alongside Solo 3.0's launch, in combination with Knock 'em Down's bonus knives, have pushed it above where we're comfortable with at a burst damage super living. So we're bringing down the bonus Blade Barrage knife count from 5 to 3 per wave. So Knock 'em Down Golden Gun now provides 15% bonus damage resistance to Deadshot Golden Gun and no longer provides bonus duration. It also no longer provides 15% bonus damage resistance to Marksman Golden Gun. Blade Barrage and its bonus projectiles have been reduced from 5 to 3 per group, now releasing a total of 20 knives down from 24. All right, somebody run the numbers on that. Definitely a nerf. Guys, I will say this though. We did do some damage testing a while back for Blade Barrage and the numbers were nutty. I think it's still gonna be good. Remember, when casting your Blade Barrage, back up, like literally be hitting back on your joystick or holding down your S key on your keyboard. This actually consolidates the knives being thrown. And no, jump height has no bearing on your super damage. I got people keep commenting that. What? Now with Solo 3.0's release, we reduced the damage of Celestial Fire against enemy guardians as a trade-off for increased long-range consistency. However, that change resulted in close-range melee duels, that is, both players lunge at each other, failing to end in a trade because base melees in combination with Celestial Fire only deals 190 damage. So we're making a change to address that here. In cases where the auto melee control binding activates a projectile melee at close range, our goal is for that damage to be, at a minimum, equal to a base melee. So Celestial Fire increased close range melee damage from 90 to 100. Players using Celestial Fire and the auto melee options are no longer disadvantaged in close range melee fights. All right, Celestial Fire, you're getting a buff? This explains so much, right? Sometimes I find myself losing those melee duels, and it's this right here. Now moving on to Void. While Void has maintained a solid position in PvE since Void 3.0's release, the survivability benefit of Void Overshields didn't quite land where we intended due to a bug. And we're fixing that bug in Season 19, which should increase Overshield's viability as a protection tool in high-level PvE. So Void Overshields fix an issue where the Overshield was only providing a 25% PvE-only damage resistance to the Overshield rather than the intended 50%. All right? No nerf inside of PvP. And I know some of you are like, Cross, why would they nerf Overshields in PvP? Dude, go talk to the PvP community. They do not like it. Void Walker is also in a place we're pretty comfortable with across all modes, but Vortex Nova Bomb currently doesn't feel like it provides a meaningful enough benefit with its pull effect to make it a compelling choice over the Cataclysm variant. Its damage is also kind of poopy, but okay. We've also observed that players frequently undershoot their intended target in the Crucible, especially if the target is moving quickly. We made a few targeted changes here to address this, but we'll be keeping an eye out going forward to make sure it's hitting the mark. So Nova Bomb Vortex. Increase initial projectile speed by 21%. Oh, okay. Increase radius of the inward pull on impact by 17%. And increase the strength of the inward pull on impact by 20%. Will I use Nova Bomb Vortex inside of PvP? Maybe. I don't know. Dude, I whiff Nova Bombs so much. I think the only way I won't whiff a Nova Bomb is if we get Lance back in the game from D1. That way I can just launch that thing. Now for Sentinel Titans, in Season 19, we're making a change to the Shield Bash to make its suppression effect more consistent when the user impacts a fast-moving target in PvP. Its current implementation results in too many whiffs on quick targets, especially while the target is airborne. So Shield Bash, improve reliability of applying suppression. Dude, that's great and all. How about just improve network connections overall? All right, I find myself too many times going for the melee and literally meleeing nothing. Like my character lunges and everything, and it just doesn't hit anything. And it's been happening more and more here. So I'm not saying this isn't gonna fix the issue, but in terms of whiffs, or in this case, melee whiffs, I think it's a systemic problem throughout Crucible. Just my thoughts. Now with Void 3.0's release, we made significant changes to both Shadow Shot super variants. Deadfall Shadow Shot received a larger pull on impact. Mobius Quiver was reworked completely. We're pretty happy with Mobius Quiver's hybrid burst and debuff role, but it's currently too good on one side of that role. We want to push Mobius Quiver further away from Deadfall's role as the long duration debuff tool by reducing its tether lifetime, while simultaneously increasing the tether lifetime of Deadfall Shadow Shot. As we previously announced in Season 19, the bonus provided by Divinity is being reduced, which we hope will make Deadfall Shadow Shot a more attractive option for situations like boss damage phases. So Shadow Shot Deadfall, increased tether anchor lifetime when triggered from 8 seconds to 12 seconds. Shadow Shot Mobius Quiver, reduce the tether anchor lifetime when triggered from 8 seconds to now 6 seconds. All right, again guys, Bungie's like, hey, I know we're hurting Divinity, literally cutting its debuff in half, but ooh, Shadow Shot Deadfall, use it. Now let's take a moment to address the elephant in the room. We know invisibility is currently a severe pain point in high level PvP. We don't have any plans to announce today, but we're looking at longer term solutions to address the difficulty in countering a full team of invisible Night Stalkers. We made a few changes across updates 6.0.0.4 and 6.1.0 to make refreshing invisibility more punishing by implementing a radar ping loop to give victims a better understanding of where they may be attacked from, but we don't believe we addressed the problem strongly enough. We're investigating additional solutions to make invisible players less frustrating to run into without compromising their elusive gameplay style. Yeah, I'm gonna be straight, guys. I just don't think you need to be removed from radar when invisible. Like, I'm already having a hard enough time seeing your ass. Dude, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm 30 now. Eyesight for me in video games has just dipped off. I feel like Ray Charles when fighting hunters that go invisible. It's ridiculous. Now, next up is Arc. Arc 3.0 is relatively new, and we're still monitoring the feedback and data coming in. We've identified some obvious outliers in the Arc ability suite that we like to address, the largest of which is currently Touch of Thunder Storm Grenades. Now, our intention with this aspect was to lean hard into the Striker as the Titan's grenade-centric class, echoing Code of the Earthshaker's role, and for the Storm Grenade to be used to force bunkered players to move when a Storm Grenade was approaching. It's been pretty clear from feedback in the Crucible that these linger in the world too long and are difficult to read from the target's perspective. To address this, we're reducing the enhanced Storm Grenade space lifetime, as well as the benefit it receives from Spark of Magnitude. We're also making changes to the friend or foe ring that travels along the ground to improve its readability during combat, and adding a visual layer to the roaming storm to help players identify whether the grenade is friendly or dangerous. So Touch of Thunder Storm Grenades decrease Touch of Thunder Storm Grenade base roaming duration from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. They also decrease the bonus lifetime granted by Spark of Magnitude to the enhanced Storm Grenade from 2 seconds to now 1.5 seconds. They're also updating the friend or foe visual language. Previously, the friend or foe ring surrounding a Touch of Thunder Storm Grenade's lightning strikes blinked on and off between strikes, and there was no indication within the cloud itself of whether it was a friend or a foe. Now the ring persists through the life of the storm, and the enemy storm has an additional VFX layer in the cloud itself to help differentiate them from those created by allies. All right, so we'll see if this actually hurts anything. Yes, Storm Grenades with Touch of Thunder was really, really good, most notably in PvE. Understand, this is a nerf for both PvP and for PvE. Now, sticking with Striker, Ballistic Slam is performing very well in the Crucible, but is a little short of the mark in PvE, so we're bumping up its damage against PvE combatants a bit. Ballistic Slam is getting an increase in damage against PvE combatants by a whopping 16%. Hell yes. Nothing like dropping a Ballistic Slam on a champion. Man won't know what hit him. One of our primary goals with Arc 3.0 is increasing the viability of Arc Strider in high-level PvE content, and it's doing pretty well at the moment. However, the global damage reduction Tempest Strike received with Arc 3.0's release makes it too difficult to justify sliding over the lethal current or flow state, so we're increasing its damage output in PvE. Tempest Strike. Increased Tempest Strike damage against against PvE combatants by 30%. Oh, okay. Look. Let's not write it off just yet. We might be able to make this work. Now, we received a lot of feedback about Stormcaller's potency across both PvE and PvP since ARC 3.0's release. Primarily, that they don't have a place in high-level PvE, especially when the trade-off is giving up Child of the Old Gods, Bleak Watcher, or Well of Radiance. We agree and are making a series of targeted changes to Stormcaller's abilities to increase their potency, some of which will also increase Stormcaller's viability in PvP modes. So with ARC 3.0's release, we increased the base damage of Arc Souls against PvE targets from 25 to 35. Since we anticipated the supercharged Arc Soul, granted by becoming amplified, to be significantly more prevalent, we were fairly conservative with this number. However, that increase wasn't enough to give Stormcallers a unique role in combat and make it a situational pick. In Season 19, we're swinging harder on Arc Souls, a lot harder. We'll be keeping an eye on those once players get their hands on them, but we're okay if Arc Souls have some time in the sun. Arc Soul, increased base damage versus PvE combatants from 35 to 60. Wow, damn near double. Dude, all right, time to make some Arc Soul builds. We're also making some updates to Stormcaller's melee abilities. While being amplified increased their potency, they also compete with Lightning Surge, which has been a very popular aspect choice. I wonder why. So we're making some updates to help them be more competitive in their base forms. Ball Lightning increased the travel range from 27.5 meters to now 35 meters. Oh, that's nice. And the Chain Lightning increased damage against PvE combatants by 50%. Oh, am I going to use it in PvP? No. Dude, no lie. Lightning Surge inside of PvP is so good. We've also been keeping an eye on conversations around Chaos Reach, which has felt underwhelming across PvE and PvP. The change made last year to Geomax Stabilizers is a contributor here, but we are also conservative with Chaos Reach's base cooldown with the 30th anniversary tuning pass because it was the source of extremely negative sentiment in the Crucible during Season 15. Now that our ability ecosystem has changed, we're more comfortable shifting the base cooldown to make this a more competitive option, sitting alongside other one-off options like Blade Barrage and Silence and Squall. Chaos Reach reduced the base cooldown and its time from 9 minutes and 16 seconds to now 7 minutes and 35 seconds. That's pretty significant. I still want a damage buff, at least inside of PvE, man. Chaos Reach damage. Dude, it used to be the one, right? You would Kamehameha everything. Now it's shite. Stasis. Let's talk about Stasis. We don't have any intention of returning Stasis to its original potency at Beyond Light's launch, but there are elements of Stasis that we swung very hard at with updates 3.2.0.3 and 3.4.0 that have fallen behind our current sandbox power bar. With Season 19 and beyond, we want to reassess the role of Stasis in the sandbox. These are the changes we felt we can make safely right now, but we'll be continually evaluating as we move forward. Our first targeted change is to the slow status effects. In its initial form, slow did too much and penalized too many facets of the player's performance, but we aren't happy with its current form, which just feels like a stepping stone to freezing your target. So we're making a measured change to improve slow's primary utility, reducing movement speed and leaving slow's other effects where they are for now. So Stasis slow, increase movement speed penalty while slowed by 10%. All right, I was expecting way worse. I was like, oh my God, Stasis is about to be meta again. No lie though. Listen, Stasis is actually really good for both PvE and for PvP. Now, Cold Snap Grenades has been falling under our reliability target for some time now. While things like Osmiomancy Gloves help solve that problem, Cold Snap fails to find even slow-moving targets often enough that we felt like a change was necessary. We'll be watching this closely to make sure its potency in PvP doesn't creep back up above our target. So Cold Snap Grenades, Cold Snap Seekers can now adjust to its trajectory for 0.5 seconds after creation, rather than immediately finding a target and traveling toward their last known position. Oh boy, half a second. Listen, I know half a second doesn't sound long, but it is. Believe me, guys. Cold Snap is about to be really good. Now with Dustfill Grenades, we felt it doesn't currently punish players in its area of effect who fail to relocate quickly enough. So we're slightly increasing the rate at which Dustfill applies slow stacks to enemy guardians so that there's a bit more urgency when players get caught by a well-aimed grenade. So Dustfill Grenades increase slow stack application rates on players by 13%. Dude, I do get annoyed when I get hit by a well-placed Dustfill. You know what I mean? I get all slowed and stuff. I gotta do this weird bunny hop to try to get out of it. Now, due to its potency at launch, Stasis has significant number of single fragment slot aspects, particularly on the Revenant Hunter. We took this opportunity to review the single slot Stasis aspect across Revenant Hunter and Behemoth Titan and found that a couple of them didn't make sense in the current sandbox. So we're bumping these up to 2 slots each. So Revenant Hunter, Winter Shroud, fragment slot increased from 1 to now 2. And Behemoth Titan, Cryo Classum, fragment slots increased from 1 to 2. Holy hell. I'm gonna be back on Stasis Titan. The neutral game ability over there, so good. Extra fragments, hell yeah. Now Shadebinder is generally in a good place, but while potent, Glacial Harvest felt like a hard choice to make over Ice Flare Bolts, Bleak Watcher, and Frost Pulse. We believe a portion of that friction comes from Glacial Harvest's lengthened cooldown after activation, so we're reducing it by 33%. So Shadebinder, Glacial Harvest reduced the cooldown on Stasis Shard creation per 6 shards from 15 seconds to now 10 seconds. Now, a piece of feedback we've heard a lot since Stasis launch was Shadebinder's inability to quickly shatter frozen targets with tools like Cryoclasm or Shadow Die. The Whisper of Rending was intended to be a tool Shadebinders could use to make that conversion easier, but in the current sandbox, requiring a kinetic primary to be equipped, shift felt too restrictive. So we're making this work on all primary weapons. Whisper Rending now provides bonus damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets for all primary ammo weapons, rather than just kinetic primary ammo weapons. All right, that's good. I like that. Now that's it. With the amount of changes we've made to abilities in the last year, we're still assessing the current state of the sandbox so we can make broader skill changes following Strand's release next year. While we can't always take action immediately, we're always listening and digesting your feedback as it comes in. It's interesting that we're still going to get massive broad changes after Strand. Like, I'm wondering, what else are we going to be doing here, right? Now I know some of you are like, Cross, there's some things that we still wanted to be dealt with and it's still not being dealt with. Invisibility, they're just saying they're looking into it. Overshields from Titans, high uptime and class abilities, the Dead Messenger lightning surge melee combo that so many toxic YouTubers made videos about. Listen, those things need to be addressed. I hope they are. But with that being said, I actually don't think it's going to happen going into season 19. It may actually be like a season 19 or mid-season update that may address those outliers. And it almost seems like Bungie wants to see these changes go live first and then proceed to see where everything sits afterwards. Now, new dungeon, who dis? A new dungeon is on the way. And while we do want to keep the details close to the chest so that day one experiences can be exciting and new for all, we did at the very least want to share with you when you can get adventure ready for season 19. A new dungeon will drop on December the 9th at 9 a.m. Pacific, the first Friday of the new season. Oh, this is perfect. Some time to prepare. And in this new in-game activity, you'll be able to, gotta go. All right, that's fine. Like, I don't care about that. The main thing is, guys, new season drops December 6th. We've got 3 days there, kind of like a raid almost, to kind of get into the new content, play some stuff, get prepped. This is perfect. I'm curious what the theme is going to be though. Now, the lighthouse is haunted. It's that time again. Time to get out there and make Saint 14 proud. For those itching for a specific map to make its way into the next Trials rotation before making that play for the lighthouse, you'll have another shot at shaping where the battle will go down. On November the 7th, players who receive Bungie emails will be able to vote for which map they'd like to see in the upcoming Trials Lab rotation between Anomaly, Cauldron, and Pacifica. Oh, these are terrible options. I guess Anomaly. Guys, pick Anomaly. And when you get that email, you'll see a snazzy little image like the one above. Click on the map that you'd like to cast your vote on, and we'll have those results faster than you can panic dive away from an errant dustfield grenade. And by that, we mean that the new map will be set on November the 11th with an official announcement in that week's TWAB. One last thing, if you want to get on the voting action, make sure that you've opted in, receiving our emails, and have logged in to play Season of the Plunder. Outside of that, guys, we do have Bungie Bounties back again. These are the dates for Bungie Bounties from Friday, November 4th through Tuesday, November the 8th. Also, Daylight Savings is this Sunday, meaning reset time is going to move up by 1 hour. We have a hotfix going live next week, so be prepared for that. A number of known issues, which actually still involves pages being manifested. Due to this point, just give up, right? And as a final note here from Bungie, and that's a wrap on our latest blog effort. Not really sure how we've already arrived at November, but we shall reward ourselves with post-Halloween discounted candy because it's like a little gift and you don't need to worry about all that chocolate in our faces, okay? It's called self-care. Anyway, we appreciate you tuning into another week of updates and hope you're enjoying getting your mask on with friends in the tower. Before we set y'all loose to do what Guardians do, just a friendly hippie reminder to make sure you're drinking tons of water. Do something a little nice for yourself because you deserve it. And remember to always keep that kindest foot forward. See you next week, friends. I should go. Love, hippie. Guys, this was a pretty thick TWAB about abilities. Let me know in the comments below what you think. A little news from me. I will not be live this weekend for Trials. I actually have some family matters going on this weekend that I have to attend to. And we weren't live last Friday for Trials because we had that summit there with Bungie. So big apologies for not being present for both of those Friday streams and of course the weekend. However, starting next week, we will be live on Twitch for both Destiny Resets and of course the launch of God of War Ragnarok. I'm a big fan of God of War. We're going to be playing it. I platinumed the first game. I loved it. I walked around calling my son boy for like, I don't know, a year after that. Boy. Anyways, we'll be streaming a lot more next week, so feel free to come by, guys. I know things inside of Destiny have slowed down, so I really do appreciate all the love and support here. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.